All right, by request, we have the other side from the with some specific stuff that we're going to go over about the team game that is Mythic Plus and especially high level Mythic Plus. So we have a the other side 15 here as always with a pug. This is just randoms. I like to make my videos with just randoms, A, because then my friends aren't embarrassed, and B, because we get some surprises and we get to see some bad stuff. I apologize for the luminescent being that is my face today. It is a very sunny outside, which is delightful, but it is like boom, and all of the lighting in the world and video capture changes have not fixed it. So I am a luminescent being, and I hope you like it. Okay. So for starters, I did a couple things here. Let's see. So much of Mythic Plus is about pushing all your buttons. So we see here I've got my Sinful Gladiators badge. It has a 1-minute cooldown. Pulls take about 1 minute. If I did not use it on a pull, the question is why? Same thing for... oh, especially look at that. That is 181 primary stat. It's 181 int. I put a flask on for this one just because I felt a little bit nervous about it. Look at flask gives 70. So if I don't use that every pull, like why did I use a flask? Capacitor Totem, 55-second cooldown, and I've got that down. Spirit Walker's Grace, a 1-minute cooldown. Right, just all of these things I really should be thinking about almost every pull. What do you have in that same zone? Right, about 1 minute is in every pull item. Okay. So we're going to charge into this first pull, and we're going to Bloodlust and everything, and there's a couple things to take note of here. The first one is there's not a lot to actually worry about on this pull. It's, as far as big pulls go, it's a remarkably safe pull. There's a lot of ground effects from those spinny things to the purple things, but it is remarkably safe. So we're going to get everything stunned there. We're going to avoid the purples. I'm actually not even going to worry about kicking those Risen Cultists, because if they're taking time putting that thing on the ground, they're not taking time doing damage. Because everybody's got to get out of this. And we just crush this pull. Looks pretty good. Now this tank was big on tanking on the move. It got us in trouble sometimes. My mount didn't really work twice in this place. But look at that! My Capacitor Totem's up, my Trinket is back up, my Spirit Walker's Grace is almost back up. Every pull, right? Okay, so this one, this is another giant pull. What are we gonna do? Okay, first of all, wait for the pause here. Nope, not that one. Jeez, let me just go back here. All right, here we go. Oh, jeez. Well, okay. So what we've got here is a bunch of guys that do very little. We've got these scribes that do that Dark Lotus. Again, if they're doing the Dark Lotus, they're not doing something worse. So let it go. Step out of it. It's not a big deal. Let me see if I can... That's a little better. Okay. The Death Speaker's Shadow Core is a thing that I like to kick. If I kick a Shadow Core, it takes a global cooldown. If a Shadow Core gets off, it does a hefty chunk of tank damage, and I have to spend a healing surge. So either way, it's a global cooldown. Might as well kick it and prevent the damage. It just works out better. There's basically nothing else worth stunning here or kicking or whatever, so you can pretty much go for it. So then the biggest problem becomes you don't want to double up your stuns, or you don't want to double up your kicks, because you want as much of them as you can. So one of the things that I said in this instance is that I would generally go second. I like going second, and then I know that I can watch for the debuffs up there on the enemy health bars, and I can drop mine later. Does it always work? Heck no! Lots of stuff goes wrong here. So. I can't stress enough, again, the team game aspect of this. We get into a lot of bursting trouble in this dungeon as well. bursting is a DPS mechanic. Healers have to heal it up, healers have to deal with it, but it is absolutely the responsibility of the DPS to set the healer up for success. And I am frequently kind of tossed under the bus here, or I expect people ignore it. There's two ways to deal with bursting. Kill everything at the same time, and by the same time I mean like exactly the same time, or kill everything apart, because you don't want it to happen a little bit. So this wasn't even that bad, but let's reverse that a second here. Okay. So here's what happens. Boom. Okay, we got 4 seconds. That's going to take away 10% of our health. All right, let's see what happens as that starts to tick down. Okay, so it basically did nothing, right? Now, boom. 4 seconds again, it's going to take away 10% of our health. Okay, now that immediately went to 2 stacks. 4 seconds, going to take away 20% of our health. That's no addition, right? Like we were going to lose 20% of our health anyway, 10% and then 10%. And because that first one didn't even tick, it's fine. But now we're ticking, right? Now we're ticking. Okay, that ticked once and we went to 3 stacks. Okay, we're still not so bad, because again, now it's going to do about 30% of all of our health. I've been doing a pretty good job of keeping everybody topped up. Nobody's going to be at risk of death. We're fine, but it's immediately ticking us down, right? There we go. Look at that, immediately to 4 stacks. We probably, so the 4 stacks is going to do 40% of our health, and we probably did about 10% extra there with the mob delays. That's actually pretty good. If we're going to kill them really quickly, that's what we want to do. We want to kill them really, really fast. The worst case scenario happens a bit later. Then we don't have to panic. If I know that we're only taking 40% of our health and damage, and everybody's at 100% or 80% or whatever, it's fine. If one person's low, I can just top that person up. No panic. Okay, these guys are never worth pulling like this. Because look at this. We just lost that first bit of DPS time. So now we're starting DPS while the masks are going. This is not good. I don't know what I was doing there. Oh, I didn't see the guy up there. Okay. I do recommend that you hit the urn during the rage. That is the part of these mobs that is so dangerous. But here we go with more masks. The reason I dropped Capacitor Totem, by the way, is stuns do clear those masks, and adds a little bit of DPS. These guys are no joke. Don't pull them like that. Wait for it to come up. It's going to take you 10 extra seconds, but honestly, that took us more time than that anyway, right? Because it took 5 seconds for the death, and then it took 10 seconds to rest the guy, so... Okay, this is the worst case scenario here for bursting. So when I'm stunning as well... Oh, here we go, bursting. Okay, so there we go. Immediately to 2. We're doing fine. Look at that, ticks almost... Okay, that one did go up. Okay, so there's... No, that wasn't a worst case scenario at all. Oh, I remember why this was bad. It's because I'm out of mana. Because we didn't wait around at all between stuff. I guess I should have drank. I probably had drink time there that I didn't use. And so this gets really hairy. Because my pot cooldown and my mana tide are both gone, and I'm Eventually I remember that there's a druid tank that I think can innervate me. I should really get that on my Omni CD. And now I'm like, oh god, we're dying. This pride's got 30% health left. I am upset. But also look at this. Where was Turtle? Why no Turtle? Boy, that would have helped. Also, no Turtle here. Warrior's using his cooldowns. That's great. Druid cooldowns are going nicely, but neither Hunter's using their Turtle. Oh my gosh. That means they also didn't use it on that big red angry guy. Use your buttons. Use your buttons. Okay, so here we go. So we have decided, I messed up the pride route here. I didn't realize a bad thing. You can use the pride for the big red guy and for these guys on the bottom here, these two skeletons, but you have to get both. And then the last pull before Hakar changes slightly. We only get the big red guy, and I'm like, whatever, we don't have pride, we'll get the warlords later. That was a mistake. But look at this tank is charging off. This tank is going for the red, right? Hunter's dead. I'm almost dead. Other hunter's almost dead. And I'm like, oh god, like I'm looking, oh my gosh, right? I realize, oh no. Okay, so there's the bull. This is doomed. This is super doomed. Because we're about to get a rage here, and I have, like, not gotten one heal down. Right, so already dead. We did get some personal cooldowns that time, so that's wonderful. But we're not going to survive the next one. Okay, using the pride on these guys is really smart, but my word, you just have to be ready. As a group, these guys take these guys are like harder than bosses. So now it's just me and the druid. I can probably I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna beat this guy. I can heal this. Suddenly the damage is only 2 people. I can just trade healing surges, right? But I mean, the damage is done here. So now I'm like, we skip the skeletons, might as well, because there's no pride. This is the mistake. We need the skeletons too, and then it changes the end. It does not work. Don't listen to past Nubafras. She's wrong. Okay, skip ahead. So through here again, we're dealing with stuns and stuff like that, but this group is not communicating it super well. We know I'm gonna get the second stun on most things, but boy, oh. We also, it's at this point that the warrior starts deciding that he knows good stuff. So he starts pulling. If you're a DPS pulling in M15s, you better know what you're doing. Right, so what are the priority interrupts here? The heals. And the lightning discharges, you might as well if you've got the heals covered. The Hex doesn't really need to be kicked, because it can just be dispelled. I mean, if it's on the healer, I guess you should kick it. So again, this is just me setting up for bursting with these little healing rains. Alright, I don't think there's a lot to talk about on these guys. Again, here the warrior decides that we got better things to do than to fight a lone hexer, so he's gonna run off and get some guys. And I guess he's not entirely wrong with the urn right there. I mean, there's not a huge downside to it. It is worth noting that the Hoodoo Hexers have a great deal more health than everybody else in these groups. And if you're worried about killing things evenly for bolstering or bursting, that is something you need to keep in mind, that those Hoodoo Hexers have like, I think about twice as much health as other things. But otherwise, there's actually not a lot that has to happen in here. We need to stun those Deathwalkers, and that needs to be organized. And we need to kick the various heals. such. In this one with a High Priest and a Hoodoo Hexer, you're probably not kicking the Lightning Discharge. You're probably letting that go off, and that's fine. You know, everybody's got work to do here, right? And that really is the key to doing complicated pulls in high-level mythics, is that trash pulls have things that need to happen. There's kicks that have to happen. There's stuns that have to happen. There's kicks that probably should happen. There's stuns that probably should happen, and then there's just bonus things that you can do otherwise. So on these pulls, you've got whirlwinds that need to be stunned. I would say that's a need. You've got heals that need to be kicked, and then you've got things like lightning discharge and hex that are, you know, fine to kick if everything else is covered. If you're a DPS and you don't have a job in those pulls, you should get yourself one. Or anybody, you know, whatever. If you're a tank that doesn't have a job in those pulls, get yourself one. If you're a healer that doesn't have a job, right? The secret to these things is having a job. And that takes communication. It takes corruption. This boss actually goes fine. It's a fortified week. They're all like, rip, car without pride, we're dead. It's like, nah, it's fortified. So we're going to skip ahead, because not a lot to say here. Yeah, it's a lot of output on this fight. You need a lot of DPS to take him down. Especially towards the bottom, towards the bottom of his health. But I guess I will talk. The thing about this boss is, the lower health he goes, the more Sons of Akar he spawns, and then when he casts Blood Barrier, the more Sons of Akar there are for him to kill, which means he's going to gain more shield on this Blood Barrier, and the Blood Barrier is going to take longer and longer. So this is why he's so hard. If you get stuck down here at like 20%, those blood barriers become very, very large and very, very hard to deal with. So, you know, I'm making some healing mistakes here. So here's the Nightmare Blood Barrier, right? He's at 7% health there, and this is going to be a giant shield, but we're able to DPS through it. Thank goodness it's fortified. Alright, let's bump forward to these skeletons. So we're going to get a pride in this pull, so we need to DPS these down evenly. Everybody has agreed that we're going to DPS these down evenly. She said very ominously. As one starts to really take the lead there, this is unfortunate. It ends up fine. Actually, so the pride comes up, I'm like, I'm not dealing with this, and just execute it with my cube. So, communication, preparation, positioning, and this druid decides that we're going to run this pride up this tiny stairway. This is a terrible idea. How many seconds is this going to save, honestly? And what are we even going to use this pride for? It's not having it at the right spot. We're going to use it to kill the dental drill? I mean, like, this is not a big deal. And yet and now I see him like starting to go into this tiny hallway, and I'm like, no, do not do that. Just a little bit, again, overzealous. So here we almost get in some major trouble. We take the dental drill, and the druid obviously is like, we got pride, we're good, and he pulls this headless client. But think about it. The dental drill has to be line of sighted. The headless client does that spinning stun thing. This is a terrible combo. Look at this, right? We've got to burn a stun for no reason there, because if that thing gets into us, that's terrible. We are a pug that has had limited communication. We don't have a plan for this headless client on this pull. And well, I'm not going to tell you that it's not possible to do both of these. Of course it's possible. But it takes communication and teamwork. And we all need to push our buttons at the right time. And without any planning. I do think it's funny how often the pride buff makes people so prideful that they make, I would say mistake pulls like that. And now we're pulling this guy solo, right? We didn't even save any time. We have a big guy, a spinny guy, and another big guy, and the spinny guy is going to come with one of them, so why not come with this guy that doesn't require us to all hide behind corners and group up and stuff like that, right? Like, what didn't save any time? I miss those volcanics so much. It's a good thing they do almost nothing. I should get better at those. They do stop my casts. Earlier, if you didn't notice, I just threw my Earthbind Totem out there in the hallway and got all those small exploding guys. That's fine. If you got like a slow sigil or some like slowing thing you can put out there, you might as well use it. There's not a lot else to use it on in these places. And they'll never get to us. And if you don't clear them, when we come out the tube after the Mana Storms, they'll aggro, and then they might actually hit somebody. Okay, again with the communication and the management and the team game aspect. The warrior here decides that we should stay in and heal through the haywire, which, just for reference, on a plus 15 fortified week does 9,500 damage per tick, so that's not healable. I mean, maybe we could. Maybe we could use it. Maybe we'd only take 2 ticks and we'd all survive. But again, with no communication, he just dies. Boom. That's how I knew it was 9,500. Communication. It's like, yeah, it's like if we're on Discord and we all decide, okay, we're going to stay in and we're going to make our stand here for saving 5 seconds on the timer. And I guess that's good, right? But we're not on Discord, and we're not on that kind of communication, and so you just died, and that's wasted 15 seconds. Your death wastes 15 seconds. 5 seconds for the death penalty, 10 seconds for the res. If you can run back, probably more. Okay, so we pulled in this extra lubricator. God, I'm on a roll today. We pulled in this extra lubricator. There's 2 kicks on these guys. The must kick self-cleaning cycle that now they're both doing, and then the lubricate, which if 2 of those go off at once, my goodness, that's a bad thing. So lubricates should kick, self-cleaning cycles are must kick, and now we have 2, and again, there's no communication, so no surprise, it gets hairy. People start to panic, like me, like I start to panic. I think that the biggest thing about pugs in these dungeons is just this, like, idea that things are just going to work, that everybody's just going to know what they're doing. And you know what? That's true. Maybe everybody knows that you should kick the lubricates and you must kick the self-cleaning cycle. Maybe everybody knows that on a 15. But if you haven't set it up, who's kicking what? That first cast starts and the whole group goes, is this me? Is this me? If I kick this, is somebody going to get the self-cleaning cycle? I don't know. It's a terrible, terrible plan. Same thing here. This is an incredibly dangerous pull, right? And have we got our kicks lined up? No. Do I know that? Yes. Do I insta-drop my capacitor totem? Yes. Look at, I've got healing tied down. I've got mana tied down. I'm just going nuts on this because I've got the mana tied legendary. And that hunter just gets boom, 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 boom. Right, and I'm way late on the Spirit Link, but he wasn't even in it anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. Incredibly dangerous pull. Organizer kicks. When I'm in here, when I'm in Discord on this pull, I'll pause it when we come around the corner. So I'm talking right now. Right now in Discord, I'm going, you. And I go, look around the corner, and I'm going to go, okay, see how they're lined up? Front, back, right, back, left? I'm going to go so-and-so back left, so-and-so back right, so-and-so front, anybody else kick anything you can do. And then those three people go in there and they kick as many as they can of their target's stuff. And then any remaining kicks used whenever. If we've got more than one stun, we'll line those up too. If we've got solar beam, we'll line that up as well. Because these guys will smash people, and they absolutely smash the hunter. I think that this is a really good example of, again, yeah, look, there goes that hunter. Maybe you know everything, but again, if you haven't come up with a plan, then your knowledge is no good. Because when you get up to these 15s and higher, there's increasingly small margin for error. And every step up becomes giant. I mean, there's not much to say about prize anymore, really, is there? Got another hunter not standing and healing, but that's... So now, I'm going to start looking at the thing. Look, okay, look. The sludge is going right now. I know, there we go. I know how long it's been. I know I got time. Right, look ahead, because otherwise you're going to be sitting on that going, can I go? Can I go? Can I go? And then guaranteed you're going to run into the pipe and get knocked off the side, and you're going to die. And everybody's like, come on, man. This is another great example of a fight of all the healers are janitors, this expansion mentality. Fortified, by the way. So, we got Pride, everybody pops all their cooldowns, we smoke Millhouse, and then we start fighting Maleficent, and she takes forever, and we can't stun her rocket barrage. Right. So, I bloodlust on Millie on this fight to make sure that we get something from her. Wow, an ad. Let's skip that. Okay. So I don't even DPS very hard on that because I kind of don't want to kill him. I want him at like 11%. So anyway, healers are janitors. So you're going to see me running around, getting all the squirrels. Wishing that I hadn't spent Spirit Walker's Grace on the last, on Millhouse, because that's really handy for running around on all these squirrels. Okay, so next up, I believe, is her Rocket Barrage. I'm pretty sure. No, one more squirrel and then Rocket Barrage. Yeah, 5 squirrels. So I know this is coming. I know 5 squirrels, Rocket Barrage. Here we go. I'm gonna run over here. Ascendance just gets precast there. Top everybody up, get everybody going. Healing Stream convinces everybody they should come in. It is survivable, but you know, I have yet to find a way to survive that without both of those cooldowns. You know, if we're in Discord, I can be like, save your turtles, right? Or whatever else, and then we'll probably survive better. Right, but we're not, and you know, look at the healer. Look at that number 3 there, Firewind or whatever. Never used the turtle at all. And the one before used turtle on the Pride, which I would say is fine. Right, that's just what a good way to die there. Use all your buttons. All your buttons. Okay, another giant pull. So let's take stock of what's in here. We have Rizvan cultists that are going to put the swirly on the ground. Don't kick that. If they're doing that, they're not doing something else. We've got a bone dinosaur and some stuff. They're just gonna hit. That's fine. They're gonna do their thing. We've got a death speaker, which is gonna do the blow off the ledge, and the shadow core, which is that big tank hit. The only thing we really have to manage here is where we're standing and the shadow core. We don't even really have to manage the shadow core, right? So we're just gonna set up, do that. There we go. Urn goes off, and that's pretty much it. That takes this big double pull out. Nothing to it. Oh, this is a bursting mistake, I think. Oh, that bursting's actually not bad. It's a very cool spell graphic, though. Okay. Skip ahead. Here we go. Big, huge pull. Okay, so these pulls, I honestly don't even really know what the Spriggans do. I know they do something, but I don't think it super matters. The Moss put the jumpy debuff on. It's a very, very low priority dispel. Because people can just jump if they have to reset. I do like to get the tank or, casters if I can. And I do often clear it for people, but it's very, very low priority. The Runestag Elder Horns are the largest health in this area, except for the Matriarchs, which you shouldn't be pulling. And they do the ground effect thing. So when the Runestag Elder Horns come, that's the ones that you're going to be pumping your DPS into and cleaving and AoEing around. What we need to do here is we need to set up tank kite paths, and again, this group doesn't, but we need to have a plan, right? One of my favorite tanks, whenever we do these giant pulls, will be like, okay, I'm gonna stun, then I'm gonna drop my Earthbind totem, then so-and-so's and then you're gonna run away. So-and-so's stun is going to be, if necessary, if something bad happens in there, and then you're gonna use your Ring of Peace if you don't manage to get far enough away or if we're in a small zone. So the stun lets you get out, the Earthbind keeps them from catching up, and then Ring of Peace to kick them back or whatever. You can also, if you think you're going to need two kites, stun, some kind of slow, run away, save the next stun. Okay, stun. Okay, tank, run back through. Okay, now we're over here. We can do all these things, right? You've got your path. You've got your setup. This group has none of that at all. So all it is me trying to guess what the tank is going to do because he's not communicating. I suppose bark armor is worth interrupting. That sounds like something that makes them take less damage. So I stunned there just because I felt like we were getting a little bit behind. So it gives me a chance because I got nothing better to do with it. I don't know what else we're doing. And this tank appears to not really be interested in kiting. He just wants to face tank it. Ooh, yeah, I think here's the burst badness. Is this that? Yeah. That warrior is just not jumping. All he has to do is jump. Right, so let's go back to that. Let's check that out. What happened at the end of this pull? Okay, so here's where things start to go bad. Again, we've got no plan, so of course things are going to go bad. Of course. Again, low priority interrupt, so it can just stay. Okay, so there goes one. Now, almost the whole 4 seconds. And then... Oh, no, that wasn't that one. Here we go. Here we go. So, we've got half done. So we've all taken 5% of our health and damage. It got down to 1, so we took about 7%, and now we're at 2. So this is going to do 20% of our health. So that first one happened, almost cleared. We killed the second one. We're now up to 20. So it's going to do about almost 30%, right? And then 2, 1, boom, again. Almost off, we kill another one, so now we're at 30. So when this is all said and done, this little bursting thing has done 60% of our health and damage at a time when there's still all those mobs up and all this stuff is happening. Oh my gosh, are we ever set back for that? Okay, so that clears off. Now I'm just catching people up. I gotta get back up because there's more mobs. So there's 10% more. Now that one goes off, that's fine. There goes 2, 3. So that those last two that died together, it's really not that. That's ideal, right? That's really what we want. If they die right at the same time, there's no extra ticks, and that's really good. Then, boom. Did you see that? We were down to 0.1. And now instead of a bursting that's going to do 10% of our health, and look at we would all survive, we're going to get one that's going to do 40% of our health. And that's going to kill all of us. So, take a quick assessment of my cooldowns, and I think I make the wrong choice. Yep. I just start riptiding, which is not the correct choice. I think the only way to save here is Ascendance. What a waste. And I don't choose it. In the meantime, the warrior yells at me to decurse him, but he could have just jumped. I have no sympathy. Okay, so I am not, I'm pretty sure that we need the Spriggans and the Rune Stags here. I'm not 100% sure, so I don't say anything. I already messed up the Pride route this route. So they want to just do the Spriggans, so okay, we'll just do the Spriggans. And then we'll just do the Rune Stags, and then we'll just do the Pride. So I will skip ahead here. Okay. So we're doing a giant pull, because there's an urn here. We might as well do a giant pull, take a whole bunch of these guys out. And these guys are easy. The biggest concern with these guys is that stacking beak debuff that the, I don't know, what are the herons or whatever, put on tanks will start to add up, but there really should be very little spread damage here. It should just be the tank for the most part, and that should be pretty manageable. Again, if you've got kites set up, you're good to go, right? Of course we don't. I think here as well, you know, we need to remember this concept of jobs. God, look at that! Look at that bursting again. I want to show you again because this is the worst case scenario for bursting. So there goes 1, 2, almost all the way down. And, okay, that one goes off. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Almost all the way down, 30%. And then... Yeah, okay. So, that wasn't quite what I saw the first time. But, we did stack it to 3 times, spending a ton of time on 2. Which takes it from 30% damage to 50% damage. That's big, right? Oh my gosh. Alright. So this is where the warrior really starts micromanaging the group. He doesn't like that we only have 2. He tells the druid to go get more. The druid isn't quite sure what's happening, so he goes and gets this Bladebeak matriarch over here, which is a big problem. The matriarch are worth very few percentage and take forever to kill and buff all the birds around them. I'll be like, it's fine. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be just fine. I throw in my Earth Elemental preparation, get it covered. If we were on Discord and stuff like that, maybe it's better to stun Kite, do all that, right? But we're not. So we've got, so this here is another example. This is a dangerous pull. What is everybody's job this pull? What are we doing? What's our stun order? What's our kite plan? We don't have one. There's not one. It doesn't exist, right? So we're taking on a dangerous pull and hoping for the best, which is never going to work. You'll see that first cast bar go by. Should I stun that? I don't know, and that's about to happen here. That Bladebeak Matriarch is about to start casting Angering Shrieks. That needs to be stunned. It needs to be stunned every time. And what happens? Did it already cast it? Did I miss it? I did. Okay, we're gonna go back. Okay, so here comes the Bladebeak Matriarch. And it is going to... There it goes. Come on, do it again. There it is. Angering Shriek. This is going to buff everything around it. It's going to be real problematic. It's about a 3-second cast. My Capacitor Totem will not work for it. I can't do anything, right? Somebody else is going to have to stun this thing, blow it back, stop its casting, do anything. But we haven't planned it. So I like Hail Mary my Capacitor Totem, knowing it's not going to work. But at least it's going to work right afterwards, so at least it gives us a moment of thing. But now everything's doing more damage, it's terrible, right? Oh wow. I mean, it worked. Like, we were able to do it. My Earth Elemental was sacrificed for the cause, which is fine. Alright, so carrying on. So it is at this point that I'm expecting us to be moving down the hill. And in fact, if we're going to move down the hill, now is the time to do it. We're all moving anyway because of this constant comet storm from the Runestag Elderhorns. We might as well move now. There's no downside to it. But we're going to move during the Pride. Prides have stacking DPS and that thing. It's okay to move during Prides. But why wouldn't we just move now? Because now we're running down the hill. We're going to pop these 2 burstings. So everybody's taking damage. Here we go. You know, there's 2 more burstings. We're starting a Pride at half health, and we're going to move down the hill now. This is a terrible setup. And you know, it's just some very frustrating choices. Okay. So again, this is a 15. 15s are real. 15s. This is actual stuff happening, right? Like if you're doing a 15, oh god, look at this miscommunication of the red balls. If you're doing a 15, there's that hunter using his turtle on Pride again. Again, I want him to use his turtle, but with the amount of damage he's probably going to be taking in a second, that's way worse. If you're doing a 15, you gotta know what you're doing. And I would say more than that, you've got to know why. Why are you doing it? So on this fight, we have this lightning, arc lightning, and the stacking debuff from the arc lightning. And you're going to watch the hunters are just swapping it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And they're starting to take a ton of damage. And neither one of them runs in and gives it away. The stacking debuff is only 10 seconds long. You can erase that from you if you just pass it to a third person, right? But if you're standing in a group with just two of you, you guys are just going to share that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's going to get gross. So, and in fact, it gets gross very quickly. So they've got 6 stacks, 7 stacks, 8 stacks. There, turtle goes off, so we'll take that. Even though he used it at the wrong time, he's not taking damage right now. So that turtle was... so, let's back this up. Okay. So right now... Okay, so now the bottom hunter has arc lightning for 7 more seconds and has 5 stacks. This is a wonderful time for turtle. Nope. Nope. Okay, now it's passed up to the hunter on top, who is 1/3 health, used his turtle on the pride, and has 5 stacks. That's a significant number of stacks. It's going to be 7 or 8 before he gets rid of it. So now this hunter, the bottom hunter, uses turtle, even though he's not taking any damage right now. And the top hunter is taking all the damage, and this is where I go, fine, I'll do it. And I'm gonna run over and take it. Because this is too much. And I get there just in time to snag it away from that other hunter. And now I've got it with only 1 stack, and I'm gonna go take it to the melee, who also have no stacks. And now see, it's in those of us who are here in the melee area, and the hunters are already reset. All one of them had to do was step into the melee for a second, give it away, and it would never have gotten to them. You know, communication. Communication. So now we're doing the thing where we all call out in chat, which, you know, back left, back right, front left, front right. And let's, so I'm trying to, where's my, this is great. Okay, here we go. It is infinitely better if you drop those purple things in the back. If you're ranged, there is nothing worse than having no path through the middle of this zone. Yeah, we don't need those on the right side right now. Those won't come into play, so those are fine. But I am significantly impressed how quickly the tank and I melt this guy. This is pretty impressive. Wow. Yay, we did it. High five. So I was checking to make sure everything got done. The DPS the heck out of this guy. If people are low health, don't heal them up here. They're not taking any damage. You got massive haste buff, just give her. So you'll see again here, there's the first Cosmic Artifice. We're going to take this to the back. We want this in the back as much as we can, or at least not in the middle. These things just become so much more easily avoidable. And there you go. That was rougher than I remembered.
Times change, man.
But but we did it. But we did it. Um, I hope that this has helped. It's a little bit more advanced. Continue to think about your preparation and your positioning. But this one was about communication. And so you know what everything happens, you know what everything does. But how do you use that? When do you wait to kick something? When do you wait to stun something? Do you have a kite path set up? Who slows when? All of these things and the difference it can make to make these runs just that much smoother. We were able to do this one. DPS was, I guess, fine. We were able to do this one within the time, despite a Pride Route mess up, thanks to yours truly. But it was close. It was tight over and over and over again. And I would say most of the times that it was tight were simply because of the lack of communication and planning, which these instances, I think, really require. If you take away nothing else, take away what's your job? Do you have a job? Your job yes, your job is to race in there and tank as hard as you can, and heal as hard as you can, and DPS as hard as you can. It is all those things to get your rotation right. But which ability on which mob are you looking for? What part of the kite path are you doing? Which stun order are you? Right? Which DPS target is yours in the case of bursting or bolstering or inspiring? Where are you? Do you know the route that we're going to take, or are you just following? All of those things are really, really, really important. And then how we started, push all your buttons. So you have 1 minute cooldowns that you aren't using every single pull, because if you aren't, you should be. Because that's so many times, right? One thing I've thought about a lot over this last little bit, my Night Fae ability is a 2-minute cooldown. If the dungeon takes 30 minutes and I didn't use it 15 times, why didn't I? Right? Especially considering that it now leaves me a haste pool on the ground. Why didn't I use it? So I'm adding that in more and more and more, right? Get all your buttons down, all your cooldowns down, get them all going, and things will get a lot better. Thanks again for watching. I hope this helped. We'll see you next time.